What up, everybody? It's Aaron with Robert, and this is Get Your Geek On It. This is our review of Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Let There Be Carnage. Do you just want to do just spoiler, or do you want to like do a little quick mini non-spoiler review first? We didn't talk about it.
Mini non-spoiler, I think.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk So obviously this is a sequel to the first Venom that came out. We've got Tom Hardy, we've got Woody Harrelson, we've got Michelle Williams. That's kind of like the main actors that I know. Who?
The fiance.
That's Michelle Williams.
No, the guy.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know
who he is. That's the only other one.
And the detective, but I don't remember his name. Anyways, but yeah, Venom Let There Be Carnage, sequel to the first one. This one's directed by Andy Serkis. Brisk movie, hour and a half. And you know, basic plot is that what's his face? Woody Harrelson is playing Cletus Cassidy, who is a serial killer and gets the symbiote in him and turns into Carnage, and then him and Venom fight.
Basically it.
And you know, overall, this is my quick non-spoiler, very quick summary.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed the first one, you will probably enjoy this one. If you thought the first one was just okay, you will probably think this one is just okay. And if you hated the first one, you will probably hate this one. This is a sequel to the first movie. It is very much in the same vein. It's the same style of action, the same style of comedy, the same, you know, like all of those things. I would say the story is probably a little bit tighter in this one, but it still has a lot of issues and holes that we might talk about. But ultimately, if you were able to look past all that the first time, you'll look past it this time. If you hated it the first time around, you're probably going to hate this one. So, I mean, overall, I thought the first one was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I know you feel differently, but that's just kind of like, I thought the first one was like, I enjoyed parts. I didn't enjoy other parts. Overall, it was fine. That's really how I feel about this one. It's like, there were some things that I liked. There's a lot of things I didn't like. Overall, did I enjoy sitting in the theater and watching the movie? Yeah, I had a decent time. I laughed a few times. I enjoyed some of the action. It was fine. Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen the first one again. I don't know that I'll ever see this one again, because it's just kind of it was fine. It was a decent movie-going experience for me.
Yeah, and you were right. You're 100% right, and I'm going to agree with him.
Yeah, I told you before you saw it.
They're going to double down, and I tried to lower my expectations. I'm like, I didn't care for the first one. Let's see how I feel, and I went in with that mindset, and it helped a little bit. Okay. I will say that helped. Like, I'm setting the bar. You could just step over it and it's okay. And for me, it's just, okay, they almost tripped, but they made it. And that's kind of where it lands for someone like me.
Okay.
But again, I love Spider-Man, and Venom is so tied to Spidey that even the end credit doesn't help anything. I'm going to leave it at that because we'll get into the spoiler parts. Because there is an end credit. Make sure you stay for that.
Yeah.
But, you know, in this mini review, I agree. I agree 100% with Robert. If you enjoy whatever you felt in the first one, you will feel it on this one, I feel like. If you hated it, but you want to go because it's like, oh, it's a comic book movie, I recommend just kind of setting that bar a lot lower and you'll be fine. Because that's what I did. I went in here thinking, I'm going to see 2 CGI figures go at it. And I got 2 CGI figures going at it, and I have over-the-top Woody Harrelson. And I was right.
And over-the-top Tom Hardy.
Yeah, over the top Tom Hardy too.
Of course.
And one thing I didn't like, I will say this, if you ever looked at his right hand, he kept tucking his pinky in. And it was bothering me for some reason.
Notice.
I don't know why I need to pick up on these little things, but it was literally every time you watch, his pinky, he always is like this. And like maybe he broke it or something and he was just trying to hide it. I don't know. It was just real weird because I kept noticing, I notice weird things when I watch films and shows. He knows this. But I did notice one thing, which is not a spoiler. Stan Lee is in it.
Yeah.
That's one thing that if you want to look for him, he is in the scene where Eddie walks into Mrs. Chan's little grocery store. Or I guess it's like
it's like a convenience store kind of thing.
And when he's talking to her, look to the left of him. He is on a magazine cover.
Right.
I couldn't read the magazine cover. I was just so happy to see Stan Lee.
Yeah.
So
I missed it. And like I said before, I may not ever see this movie again, so I might never see that cameo. But yeah, I mean, this movie, I mean, it's the same type of humor, and it's got a decent amount of humor. It's the same type of action. It's got a decent amount of action. So ultimately, you know, I feel like, you know, this is another movie where I think like Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, and Woody Harrelson are all phenomenal actors. And they're all acting to this material.
Yeah.
Like Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson are totally hamming it up. And Michelle Williams is giving kind of the same performance she gave in the first one, which is kind of not, to me, not exceptional. It's not terrible either. It's just like, you're kind of there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think this needs to be Michelle Williams because she's like an Academy Award nominated actress.
It's like, I'm doing this for my friend. That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
I'm just doing this for my friend. Like, we're friends, and I owe a favor, so I'll do that film for you. And I'm sure they're just giving her enough money.
Yeah, we do get a couple other characters that I want to mention real quickly.
Okay.
So Shriek is in this movie, and of course the detective, who I'm sure you're familiar with because I'm sure he's in the comics. Like that's clearly the way that they revealed him and talked about him. He's got to be a comics character.
He is. I won't say what, but he is.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not a spoiler because it doesn't happen, but it's a potential future spoiler. Yes. He may turn into someone else.
Yes. Well, the way it ended, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, you know, those are, we get some other characters in building out, but it's really a very contained story.
Yeah. Which I will say, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. This is what we're going to talk about. This is what we do. And it was cool. Like, thanks. I'll give him that.
So, I mean, but is that anything else non-spoilers you want to get into?
I just want to say, because this will be on our Facebook page, this part. What do we want to give as a review? 1 out of 10. What would you put?
I'm going to throw it at like 5.5.
Okay.
It's perfectly fine. It's not terrible. It's not great. And that's how I felt about the first one. That's how I feel about this one. I enjoyed my time. I'll probably never watch it again.
And I'll say 5. 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Straight down the middle. Average movie.
I thought you were going to say like 3. So.
I'm going to give it average because everything, when you set that bar that low, everything you expect, you got. You like you said, you got over the top Woody Harrelson, over the top Tom Hardy, Michelle, what was her name? Williams. Like you said, same as the first character. And we don't see a lot of character growth, I don't feel, but it's because we got it in the first one. And, you know, I'm going to say it that way. There's holes, like you said.
I'm not sure there's been character growth in any of these
The one thing I will say, again, Woody Harrelson really hamming it up, and I like the look. It felt like Carnage when we first saw him. And I will say this, I'm sad that they did what they did to him because I would have loved to see more with this character. But that's where I'll leave it. Spoilers, go check out YouTube for the rest of this video. Okay. And now we're here at YouTube. So for the YouTube people, if you stayed here, thank you. This whole video is here for you. Spoilers. So this is our spoiler part.
Venom spoilers. So first off, we have to just talk about the elephant in the room. The credit scene.
The
credit scene where Eddie Brock and Venom travel through a multiverse and end up in a universe where Peter Parker's identity is being revealed as Spider-Man.
Yes.
So clearly you hate this.
Yes.
This is what I will say. I don't want the version of Venom and Eddie Brock that we've already gotten in the MCU.
Right.
The way Venom reacted when he saw Peter Parker made me think this was a slightly different Venom that had knowledge of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see how they play that. Because, I'm not a fan of, you know, like, I think it works in these movies as much as it does for the movies they're making. But like that comedic tone and you're a loser, blah, 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 blah. Like I don't want that in the MCU. I don't want that version of Venom and Eddie Brock facing off against Peter Parker. It's also really gonna feel weird to have an Eddie Brock who's like 15 to 20 years older than Peter Parker and view him as some kind of rival, because that's always been an element of Peter Parker and Eddie Brock, is not only are Venom and Spider-Man rivals, but Peter and Eddie are rivals. And so I don't know how they're going to play this. The only thing that I can say is that I still have full confidence in Kevin Feige, but these aren't his characters, these aren't his movies. And so I have to assume they consulted with him, but I also have to assume that they get to do this if they want to.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's The movie they were referencing was a Sony movie, like Spider-Man being outed, Peter Parker being outed is a Sony movie. Yes, it's made with Marvel Studios, but it's a Sony movie. And so they have control over their characters and what they use. And so I am cautiously, very cautiously optimistic that at least the Venom that we'll get will be one that does have some sort of tie-in to Spider-Man. How they're going to explain that, I have no idea.
All I'm going to say is, F you, Sony, if you screw this up. Because you are going to screw this up, Sony, because that's what you do. You screw up the third film every freaking time. Oh, I'm sorry, the second for poor Andrew Garfield, because that was what you guys decided to bone him on.
Well, that's because they tried to make a third movie in that second.
Yeah, so you screwed up a third film for him.
Yeah.
You screwed up the third film for Tobey Maguire. You're going to screw up the third film somehow, I'm sure, for Tom Holland. What?
No.
You're going to screw it, Sony. I know you are. But again, I'm trying to be optimistic, but I can't. I mean, the way he reacted, again, looking at television, he's like, he wants Peter.
Right.
We were talking about the whole hive mind thing, and I'm like, why are we going to that? That's leading into something way in the future in the comics, which has just been in the last few years with this hive mind stuff. I would say like that was kind of odd. And then when it switches and we get the Flash and now we're in this universe, even Venom at first is like, what is going on?
Right.
And then he's all of a sudden like, ooh, I want this. And he licks the TV, and then we go back and it's Eddie again because some guy walks in, he's like, what are you doing in my room? He's like, oh. It goes back to the humor again. And I was kind of hoping like when it switched, maybe like they would do some CGI work on Tom Holland and make him look younger.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy and make him look a little bit younger.
Yeah.
Because then maybe we could say, oh, well, they're not that far in age. And now it's like, oh, this isn't our Eddie. This Eddie's now changed. Like, something to make it be like that. Or just like maybe he like goes down to like human Eddie and it's just like a different attitude. Like now he's more like, oh, like he's angry because he saw Peter. Now it's like, oh, wait, there's a rivalry. Like maybe leading up to it. But then like you say, why? Because he's so much older in this one. In the comics, I want to say they're a few years apart because, again, Eddie's already established news reporter. He's a photographer.
Right. Yeah.
And where Peter is still coming up because he's still in high school / college.
Yeah.
And this Peter hasn't done anything with reporting, so there's no reason for him to be tied to journalism.
Right.
So it's like, and again, you can't say, oh, well, he wants to be a journalist. No, because he's never wanted that. He wants to be a scientist.
Yeah, they've never shown that.
Yeah, so that's, again, how are you going to connect these two?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see the spider. I want to see Venom with the traditional Venom spider.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. But let's rewind and let's just talk about Venom Let There be Carnage. So
garbage,
maybe. So I will say that overall, like there were elements of this thing that worked for me, but the one that really didn't was everything that had to do with the Shriek storyline. I thought
it's garbage.
I thought it was poorly executed. It like there were fun moments like when Carnage like told her to shut up or he was going to eat her face. Yeah. I was like, yeah, he's not happy about that. But the way it concluded made literally zero sense because you had Carnage like just covering her face instead of actually killing her, or you had like there was a moment where like she, and I'm trying to even remember now because it's been a few days since I've seen it, but it was just a moment where like she made like this really weird decision, like, oh, this is what's going to happen now. I'll just kill Carnage or whatever. Like it just like it concluded really oddly.
The one thing that bothered me with it, now Venom talks about how he knows a lot, and we see that I'm going to kind of take one step further back. He has good situational awareness, I'll say. He noticed the room. He noticed all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, he notices like, oh, well, Carnage, or not Carnage, but Cassidy loves Shriek, right? And they already kind of saw, oh, well, they're not having issues. They're having issues bonding, Carnage and him.
Right.
So he's like, oh, I'll just like mess with Shriek. But Shriek literally stands up and is about to screech only at Carnage. But he hits her, so that way he'll go chase her. I'm like, no, if she would have just shrieked at him, he'll fall to his death because you guys are way up high.
Yeah.
They're going to separate, obviously. We've seen that every time she hits you with this, you separate. She's in front of you, and her blast is it's only forward. It's not like omnidirectional.
It's weird.
So it's like, why did Venom hit her? Venom should have let her do it, and then just kind of look at her like, okay, are we gonna go at it? Because you already wasted your breath. You're going to have to inhale, and he could kill her right there if he wanted.
Right.
or it's gonna be like, are you a good guy now? Like you see the error, and maybe she's like, you know what, I'm sorry, I turned myself in. You don't know what she's gonna do.
Yeah,
but still,
that's
like,
what it was. Is that she kind of had a moment of she was like, this is too far.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, you did not establish this character. Like she was like cackling as Carnage and Cletus were killing people, and like she was loving it. And so like, you know, burning down the orphanage and like all this stuff, like everything, she was enjoying every moment of it. So to then have her have this moment of being like, oh no, this is too far, when literally they hadn't done anything more. I was like, what? Like, was this a rewrite? Like, what happened?
And see, I wonder if that's what it was leading to. Something like maybe there's a couple little times we see it, and like that was supposed to be her, like, I'm gonna do this, and then it's like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, maybe she starts feeling bad, and then she's like, I'm done. Like, I turned myself in. But I didn't like that Venom just hits her, and it's like, no, we've already seen Venom is paying attention at all times. He should have paid attention. She stepped forward. If she's gonna aim at Carnage, that would have killed him. And it's like, oh well, you killed him. Eat Carnage, which was dumb. The whole eating Carnage thing. I hated that part. I really hated that part. Because like,
yeah, it was weird.
What was that about?
Yeah.
You just ate your son? Because technically that's what he is to a Venom.
I don't know. I mean,
it was just
losing Carnage so that, you know, like we're not going to have that character return. It seems like is, you know, definitely, as much as I didn't love this movie, it was like, oh, but I still want Carnage. Like,
I still want to see if it looks
cool.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, like the whole subplot of like Eddie and Venom trying to actually have a symbiotic relationship. I thought parts of it worked. The solo Venom scene had some fun moments.
It did.
Overall, you know, like I like that, you know, they kind of realized that they need each other. I thought that worked. I will say my favorite probably scene in the movie is when you know, his ex-girlfriend and her fiance go to Mrs. Chen's, and Venom is in Mrs. Chen. Like I enjoyed that scene, and I really liked the effect that they did.
That was perfect.
Where Venom was like speaking through Mrs. Chen, but not in the full Venom. And I was like, they should do this every time. Like this, it was like, this is exactly what it should look like every time Venom is in someone else, but they only did it in that scene.
Yeah. And it was a perfect payoff. I liked that whole scene. I thought it was perfect because it was like I loved how Venom the whole time is ragging on Dan though. Like, I hate him. I don't like him. And at the end, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, Venom grew up a little bit. All right.
Well, I mean, Dan did like drop a fireball.
Oh,
on
yeah,
Carnage,
he did.
So he's kind of like, all right, I'm
respect.
We're
right.
cool. We're cool.
Yeah. Still don't like him, but we're good.
And even like the ending of that scene where then Venom goes into the woman again, and we get like Lady Venom, just like we did in the first one, which is a really weird effect. But I kind of liked again like Eddie having to mea culpa and like apologize to both his girlfriend and Venom at the same time. I thought that was clever. I was like,
that was funny because you see
with that.
her. I love how she's giving the expressions, but then you hear Venom like, oh, I don't like that. Like,
yeah, no,
you can go harder.
Anymore.
Yeah, and then, that worked perfect.
Yeah,
I really will say this. I finally figured out watching this one. One of the reasons I don't like this Venom is when you read the comics and look at this. This is Matt Gargan Venom. This is Venom. This is how they draw him as Venom. Now, if you don't know who Matt Gargan is, that is the Scorpion. He does get the symbiote. He becomes Venom. And this is what I didn't pick up on it until this film. This is what they're doing. It's that Venom though, because the way he looks, it's that version. The way he's acting with wanting to eat people and all that, that's his version. Now, I know there's some parts where Eddie did eat, ate brains and all that, and so did Peter was wanting to like kill and do all that stuff.
Right.
But it really didn't, to me, really grasp until Matt Gargan got it, and he was really in control.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I think that's why I don't like it, because they're mixing both those villains together. Now, if they do merge and bring this into Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I want to see how Venom will react with Scorpion, if they're going to ever play on the symbiote going to him once and see what happens and how he reacts.
Sure.
But I finally figured out that's what I don't like. So if you look at this, that bothers me because it's not Venom that I want, man. I will say that. I'm ranting.
Yeah, that's all right. You know, I mean, ultimately, there's just not a whole lot to discuss with this movie.
There's not.
Like, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty straight down the line. Like I said, I didn't really care for the Shriek subplot, but, you know, the stuff with Venom and Eddie trying to become, you know, like, together.
Yeah.
I thought a lot of that worked. And, you know, like, the fights were mostly good.
Yeah.
The detective...
I was about to ask you on him.
I didn't like that actor's portrayal.
I had one scene that really bothered me.
Okay.
Eddie's, for a couple. The first thing I want to say, just to throw it out there so I can knock it out. We talk about how Eddie's the journalist, but it felt like Venom was in this whole movie. Until Eddie's like, I'm going to go be a journalist. And he does an investigation, right?
Yeah, when he's separated from Venom.
Yeah, when he finally gets separated. Mm-hmm. That was the first time I'm like, wow, Eddie can be a reporter. Even though every other time we've seen him, he sucks.
Right.
But I like it, and the reason I mention it is because it leads into the scene I don't like with the detective.
Okay.
He sees the carvings. He starts putting two and two together. Okay, he's like, well, if you can figure out who FB is, it's got to be where he's going to go.
Yeah.
And the detective's like, can't, it's a dead end. I shot her. And then just ends the call. And I'm like, you're not going to maybe tell Eddie more than that? Because Eddie's going to be like, well, wait, you killed an innocent person. I'm going to call the cops on you now. Like, it was just dumb that he just hangs up. It's not like...
I mean, that's a movie trope. Like,
yeah,
literally,
I don't like that.
It happens all the time in movies where characters hang up the phone without completing their conversation.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, no, that's not how phone calls work.
Exactly. It's like, if I was at the airline, I'd be like, first of all, you jerk. You wanted me to call you, and I didn't do it the whole film, and now I'm doing it now, and then you just hang up. I'm going to call you right back. A voicemail, I'm going to he's going to keep calling back. He's going to blow up your phone. Yeah. And I didn't like that. Like, it was just one of those, like, talk, dude. Like, talk about this.
I just honestly, I don't know if it was the character or the actor, but I just really didn't kind of care for the storyline that they were giving. Like, every time he was, like, kind of angry with Eddie, it was kind of like, you're really going over the top here. Like, why? I don't understand why you're so upset.
He's trying to match there over the ham. He's trying to be a ham with him.
Yeah, I don't know. And obviously, they set him up to become a future villain?
No, hero.
Okay.
So if they're going to do comics, Venom spawns Carnage. Carnage spawns Toxin, which goes into this guy, which was why you see the eyes the way they were.
Did you catch any part of the symbiote hitting him ever?
Never, except the eye. They just did the eye effect.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, when did it go into him? Because I didn't see anything.
It.
Okay.
I
was like, did I miss it?
Yeah, and that's why I was confused because I'm like, it didn't show him like eat any of it. It didn't show like he was like slowly going into his mouth like he's gonna suffocate him. Nothing. It was
right.
Just,
he was in a totally different like part of the battle.
Yeah.
From where Carnage was, and so that was confusing to me. I was like, wait, like why is he turning into? Like, obviously, as soon as it was happening, even though I don't have any history, I was like, oh, they're setting him up to become, another symbiote. But I was like, but when did that happen?
Yeah. He becomes Toxin in the comics. Toxin is supposed to be like the 100th child of this symbiote bloodline, you could say. And what it is once, I think it's 100 or it's a certain number.
Aaron, what? Nobody cares.
He becomes a good guy, all right?
Okay.
That's what I'm just trying to get at. After they hit a certain number, they become good guys for a little bit.
Sure.
So he's going to be a good symbiote. It's a weird subplot with the whole symbiote stuff. Like, it was weird.
Anything more to add in?
Set the bar low. Like, I keep saying that, but set the bar low.
If I would say, for sure, if you're a huge Spider-Man fan, a huge comics fan, this movie's really, I don't think was made for you.
No.
I think this movie is made for people that love superhero action movies and, just want to have a big CGI fight.
Yeah, exactly.
I like
that was a good thing.
It was fine. Like, that's the best I can say about it is that it was fine. Again, I don't think it was terrible. I don't think it was great. But I will reiterate what I said at the beginning of this. If you thought the first one was terrible, I think you will think this one is terrible. If you loved the first one, I think you'll probably love this one too. That's all I can say is that this feels like a sequel to the first movie. They made, a new story in that universe with the same characters and just went, let's make another one.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what they did. So it was successful on that front. Made huge amounts of money at the box office.
90 million the first weekend?
Obviously, it
people want to see it. Obviously.
Had a lot of interest. The first one made a lot of money. This one seems like it's on track to make a lot of money, which means we're going to get more with this character.
Dear God, we're going to get more of Venom.
But if you want to hear our thoughts on other things, including What If, or other shows and movies that are coming out, definitely check out our YouTube channel at OfficialGYGO. You can catch us on Facebook. You can catch us on all the podcast feeds. Again, at OfficialGYGO. That's Aaron. I'm Robert. Stay geeky, guys.
Get your geek on.